and gentlemen, to the Chicago Theater. We are about to get into Game 2 between SKT and RNG. But first, I have Albus, Nox, Lunas, PvP Steos here with me. You guys are playing on Sunday versus H2K, and I'd love to get a quick word about your preparation and how you're looking forward to that match.
Well, we are training a lot and looking forward into this match. I think that will be a battle, a real one fight between me and Jankos for the title of the First Blood King, because H2K won every game they got the First Blood, and I grabbed like 6 First Blood out of 7.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that and see who it goes to. Now, though, SKT is battling RNG and they are down. RNG took the first game. We were watching it together. Tell me what you thought and what are your predictions for the rest of the match?
Okay, well, this year I feel like SKT is a team that is like playing like Faker and Bank, getting to the short minute mark, and 3 people around them helping them. But this game they like gave up like the sneaky Nasher, maybe like in our style, that the RNG like decided we just take the Baron and then take the Elder, and the game went very well. And also I have to admit that Mata and Looper made a very big amount of work this game, and I really was amazed how Zyra impacts the game.
Yeah, definitely. Quick prediction, who's going to take it here in the end?
Well, you can't underestimate SKT in the Bear 5, but I think that like SKT took it 3-2, or either like RNG goes 3-0.
Wow, well, we'll see what happens if SKT can turn it around. Thank you very much. Good luck on Sunday. And now we're going to kick it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Shox. And while PvP Steos was looking towards that jungler matchup between himself and Jankos on Sunday, I want to zero in on the jungler matchup here in front of us, because Blank will be subbing in for Game 2 in place of Bengi. So my question to you, gentlemen, given what we saw in Game 1, do we expect that substitution to shore up any of the weaknesses maybe exposed in that first game?
I mean, first things first, maybe we shouldn't be surprised. SKT started Bengi in their first game of the tournament, then ran with Blank for the next 4 before coming back to Bengi. I guess the big story for me is that we're on the red side now. So on blue side, you kind of have flexibility to ban a champion like Nidalee, and they may still end up banning Nidalee on red, but they have to be in a position to take it in their round of picks if it's left open. So I think they don't have the flexibility to have Bengi on red. So I think Blank gives them more options, even if you compare their play at this tournament, it's been pretty much the same.
Yeah, and I actually think that Nidalee is going to be a banned on the red side regardless against MLXG. I like the substitution for them. I think Blank has been their go-to for the majority of the season, and I was surprised whenever we would see Bengi if they weren't going to make it a permanent thing. Maybe they thought it was because of his World Championship experience. But this SKT team has won the IM World Championship with Blank. They won MSI with Blank, and I think if they want to win, they should be doing it with Blank.
Very much so. All right, but now I want to talk about your point earlier before the break about how this series is made all that much more interesting with some of the macro play that RNG introduced. But at the same time, if we reference that gold graph from Game 1, we do still see elements of that SKT that we're so familiar with in their ability to claw back into games.
All right, first, going on the macro point, be careful. Once you think RNG have fixed their problems, they don't. So unless they start winning convincingly to macro play in the second and maybe third game, I'll be convinced right now. I'm just not there yet. But yeah, as you see the big dip there towards the end of the gold graph where everything went even, that was SKT playing with the wave killer in the mid lane, and honestly, a lot of people sidestepping Deadly Flourish constantly. A lot of Praise Seekers got sidestepped, a lot of Deadly Flourishes got sidestepped, the ultimates just didn't connect, and SKT was so good at buying time.
Yeah, SKT has some of the best players in the world, as does RNG. We mentioned that when they entered the players, how many world best players we have, or people that have won world championships that were on that stage. And you're seeing it in the level of skills, in the intricacies of the team fights. So a lot of it does come down to whether or not you have the right TP, whether your jungle path is in the right place, and whether you're picking advantageous matchups in 2 out of 3 lanes, which so often has led to victory in this world.
But I think we should, just as a point, I think we should talk about the fact that it feels like RNG at this tournament have kind of played to the level of their opposition. 2 games against TSM, 2 victories. Game against SKT, another of the tournament favorites, a victory. And the reason why I bring it up is that, I mean, Spawn kind of alluded to the fact that they have players here who, you know, their motivation in and out of every game in a big league has been called into question. very easy to rally the troops in a best-of-5 for your Worlds Live. And it feels like the level they're playing on against these teams that they respect, against these teams that can go far, has been a step higher.
All right, well, they came out and definitely put up a showing here in Game 1. We'll see if they can take another win off of SKT as we throw it over to Quick Shot and the guys for Game 2.
Thank you very much. Royal Never Give Up are going to need 2 more wins to take the series. And if I recall correctly, Royal Never Give Up won the first game against TSM, lost the second. They won the first game against SKT and MSI and then lost the next 3. This is the game for me that determines whether or not RNG have stepped up their gameplay and are closer to their ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing. This was one game. One game where RNG had a great start. We liked the composition. They had winning side lanes, 2 side lanes. Having 2 winning lanes in this meta almost always guarantees you get an early advantage, and they used that up until that 22 minute point where they started going 4-man mid against Faker for 10 minutes, and it slowed down the game so much that SKT was actually in a good position to win.
And this is good because you get to answer some of the questions. Can they accumulate the lead? Can they play out with it? Can they close the game in 5v5 teamfight? And you're still getting yeses and nos here because really that stall out should have been good enough from SKT if they played a little bit crisper.
If
So
it wasn't for Duke
and Bengi had played better. Now
Mainly
Bengi is
Duke.
out. Blank is in. I don't think Bengi did anything in the early game to justify praise here either, and he's off. So, pick some bans. SKT on red side, knowing the substitution. Maybe Spawn, where are you looking for what these teams could do?
Yeah, I think that we're going to actually see something very similar. I think that now Looper has got a stronger pick the first time around. You still have the advantage of being able to pick top early and then just get strength everywhere else.
You can honestly ban the same if you're SKT, the Nidalee, the Caitlyn, and the Syndra. Now that you're on red side again, you want to remove Nidalee from MLXG. You want to remove Syndra as the potential first pick, unless Faker has something ready. Zyra is a pick, though, I'm looking at it a little bit, because she was really hard for SKT to deal with in the bottom lane, despite having Karma down, who is a strong laner herself. But I think SKT might just go with exactly the same bans, because I don't think there's anything RNG can first pick that kind of throws SKT off guard.
And it's interesting, right? Because we talk about Karma, the Zyra. Does it become first pickable? Like, what do you pick into that is going to be able to chunk her out of the lane? I think we've seen the Alistar matchup into it. One game, we've seen a Nami into it. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. And it's just won both because it wins the shove and also out damages and has kill threat.
Exactly. I actually think the best way to play against something like Zyra is to play Alistar and camp the lane. Early jungler, CC in your support, and if Zyra pushes, you just jump her instantly and you kill her because she's super, super squishy, has no extra mobility. This bad boy, the Olaf, is a pick we see more and more, where at least kind of went downhill in terms of the win rates and the pick rate. All of this kept going up and up and up, and it's because he gives you such a strong early game.
What does this mean for Blank in his champion pool? Blank, of course, has played Olaf, Lee Sin, and Nidalee. Lee Sin still up and available. Jin and Kennen very early here for SKT. Duke going to continue the reign of powerful Korean top laners running their Electro Hamster.
To answer the first question, what does this mean for Blank? I think that you probably go back to the Rek'Sai right now. You're going to be able to power farm. You're going to be quite safe against the Olaf. That's fine. In regards to the Kennen, this is really interesting now because with Jace banned, Kennen has been seen as the last remaining lane bully. And if these top laners really want to go out at hammer and tongs, that is the best pick you can have.
And he's the safest blind pick available when Jace is banned, because Jace is one of the picks against the Kennen. There's really nothing else that stands out that can bully and destroy Kennen. So it's a very safe first pick, and it gives Duke a much stronger lane. We talked about him getting a different pick than the Poppy because he got destroyed so much. So now they're setting up a much better top lane, at least. Bang playing with our feelings.
I'm not getting excited yet. So good setup for SKT. They've got long range poke, they've got good flanking and teleport. On the side of RNG, safe pick in the Victor, safe pick in the Karma, leaving their top lane and ADC for the last rotation.
Yeah, we have to look at the Karma pick. Normally, it's very easy to say, yeah, early pick Karma, she's good, great in bot lane, she doesn't really have a major weakness other than maybe a full late game. But we know these supports can play Zyra, and they'd like to pick it against the Karma. So you actually remove that Alistar option.
I would have to think that Sivir is coming right now because, you know, speed up that Olaf, and then you have the wave clear to just be able to deal with it by shoving it in repetitively and leaving the wave. Unless they're really battling for creeps right now, I would really expect a Sivir to come out.
We've not said anything about let's bounce. Let's
Hey,
bounce,
we saw him yesterday. He's no longer exciting.
We also
Is that
Media's played it, that's it. I've seen it, I'm done.
We also saw it on the solo queue accounts as well. We know this is something they like to play. We also know that they like to play it with Orianna from what we've seen in solo queue. Faker has been picking that up again. I would need Papa Smithy for the official counter of how many days since Faker played his most played champion in Orianna. Have you got it off the top of your head?
467 days, if I remember 100% correct.
I'll trust you, Deficio. 467 days. Would you be willing to predict an Orianna last pick?
Not necessarily against the Victor. It is something you can do with Zach, obviously. Have to remember, for late game, Zach can actually jump out of the ball range and kind of ruin your little combo. But it is a good wombo combo. Definitely is an option. But against something like Victor, Varus is an old one. We've seen this still a few times against like a Zia Victor. With this very long range poke.
Goes with the Jin, goes with the Zyra, you got some disengage.
It's a lot of CC.
On the side of Royal Never Give, they got a little bit of mixture of everything. It's not the Sivir that we're anticipating, and Varus will be locked in. Faker has run that this tournament already.
And it's actually just a very smart setup from SKT, because they got early AP top lane, they got very heavy AP support, even in the jungle as well. So you can actually round out your composition by picking an AD mid laner, and you don't go too heavy on one side, too heavy AP, too heavy on AD, so it's a very balanced composition. There's a tank as well in the Zac, who's just a pure tank, and a zoning element of the cannon and the Zyra ulti, so very balanced composition from SKT despite some surprises.
I definitely agree, and I also think that when you have a look at the utility and tools they bring in terms of like anti-dive and what Olaf is going to want to do and Poppy is going to want to do to this team, they have the cannon ulti that can just sit on top of the carries, they have Zyra ulti to lay down as well. There's only so much that Olaf can keep off himself before, you know, something else destroys it.
Yeah, RNG very much like a shotgun composition. Like, they want to just instantly, when they get the engage, just take someone down very quickly, have a lot of damage up front. If you survive that main engage where Olaf then uses his ulti and Poppy already used the TP flank, then it becomes almost impossible for Olaf to do anything in the fights.
We'll find out if he can. Ladies and gentlemen, tweet us your favorite moments from Worlds 2016. Jump on Twitter, hit us up at LOL Esports. Use the hashtag WorldsBigPlays. The race for the Summoners Cup, it does continue. And one of mine is solo kills don't happen anymore. Hashtag
as often, I
things
said.
Deficio says. RNG surprised. Actually, no, that's not fair. RNG picked up the win that people were expecting or anticipating. If they get a second win, that's when it becomes a surprise.
Can Spawn contain himself? If it happens, we will find out.
I will be well and truly contained. This is a team that has burnt me so many times.
Let's find out if they're going to do it again. Chicago, put your hands together for Game 2 of Royal Never Give Up, taking on SK Telecom T1. A lot of cheers in the crowd for RNG. Everybody wants to see the favorites, the dynasty of SKT go down. At least a lot of people do. Not everybody. And as it stands, RNG, they've grouped up, spotted out Bang.
Ooh, getting a gold advantage.
Push him out of the jungle ever so slightly. And guys, quick update, Bang versus Uzi over on Riot Games 2. Go check that out with Sifa, Marks, and Gates.
Yeah, and this is something that we expect out of these two teams. Actually a very standard fan out, although Faker had to burn a summoner spell here, versus early game shenanigans coming out of the RNG lineup.
Right, yeah, SKT likes to just kind of fan 5 and see, okay, is there anything happening, someone invading? So there's a bit of early vision just to spot the Grump, get to see if SKT is doing a camp and you can go in and interrupt it. Or if, for some reason, Blank was starting down on the bottom side, but that is definitely not something we expect. I still like the fact that we have on one side RNG, that composition that when they dive in the first time can deal a lot of damage to you. Your CC does nothing against Olaf. So if he's actually strong and he can get to you in these mid-game fights, he can take down one of the carries. But if he fails to do it, then RNG has almost no way of getting to the backline of SKT.
And you also have to be careful right now if you're SKT on what fights you take around the Poppy, because we've seen Lee Sins, Elises, all these champions get caught off guard by the fact that Poppy interrupts these big gap closers. So I really do think that if the counter engage is going to come in, it has to be very well thought out from SKT. Otherwise, it can be flipped on its head.
It's important to note when you consider where Blank is going to be looking to engage from. Looper already taking a lot of autos from Duke. And this is a lane matchup that he should be pushed in. He should be in some trouble. But we're expecting Looper to survive and then set up TP plays elsewhere on the map.
Exactly. Just don't try and 1v1. Don't try and play too aggressive in that lane if you're against the cannon. And Zac, what a weird jungle, to be honest. We get to see Wolf take some damage. Bottom lane, we talked about this last game. It's trading potions more than anything.
It feels exactly the same as game one. The moment Uzi and Mata got to level 3 in the previous matchup, they turned the pressure around. So that's what we're expecting to see from Bang and Wolf. Elastic slingshot, that's going to bounce up onto MLXG. Unstable Mata. Remember, Blank can come back to life. And the more you kill Olaf, the harder he hits.
Flash. Whoa!
Time round, he's in trouble. Wolf is looking for more. Flash and Ignite is already used. Mata's looking to chase. The root comes down to MLXG. Flash away. Faker looks for the piercing arrow. First blood to SKT. They get it on MLXG. They're not done. That's another for Bang.
What just happened? MLXG level 2 walked in towards SKT's jungle. Blank found him, jumped him, and MLXG could just ran away. He had support coming up to help him, but he turned around when Wolf flashed over the wall to just throw one more axe. Mata went all in for it. That was such a risky play, and SKT just got gifted 2 kills.
Yeah, they certainly did, and the bigger thing for this is they thought they could out-tempo the Zac, but the Zac was jungling quicker than what MLXG had given him credit for. So at the end of the day, they gamble everything on bad information, and it doesn't come up key. You have to think of what that does for the mindset. Now the game has swung so heavily in their favor.
Such a big advantage for SKT. They drafted definitely a stronger top lane now compared to last game, so that's going to be good. Just keep Duke up here to push in towards that tower bot lane. You got the Zyra now on your side as well, so you just got to get past the first few levels from the Ezreal, and then actually you can start playing aggressive in that bot lane. And you got an early kill on your Zac. A scaling jungler. Super, super good start. We're just about to talk about how Zac is such a weird champion. Because so many things in the current meta can like interrupt his engages, like the Poppy W. If you get something like a Time Kench as well, he really stops you from doing anything. A lot of champs can zone the Zac, but he has very, very good engage tools, and he can be super, super annoying if he's getting ahead in a game, because he just becomes unkillable in the mid game.
And if there's one thing that SKT have been very good at throughout basically everything, is vision as well. Zac, you need to have good vision, need to be fully aware of what you're elastic slingshotting into. Mata dropped to below 200 hit points, losing the fight ever so slightly with that little plant. And Wolf is now going to back away. So even CS, but kill for Bang, kill for Blank. A couple of Lucy boots already picked up for Blank, so speed up the rotations, get more of those Ws, that unstable Mata, faster clear, etc.
And I think that this is really key now to see the mindset of RNG, because they're going to lose the lanes. I mean, bottom lane already being picked up a serrated Dirk. That's against just a tier. So you have to be ready to scale. You have to be willing to take this one late game. Just in the same vein as we were talking about SKT last game, they have good straight line wave clear in the fact that they have the Victor. They have good disengage tools, but are they patient enough to play around it?
Yeah, we definitely know SKT, if they get an early advantage, they know how to close out games.
Unrelenting.
It is so rare you see SKT throw away a big lead. Blank is trying to go mid lane, gets a flash.
From Xiaohu. There's no flash from Blank, so you couldn't deliver that one over, and Xiaohu gets away.
Now that timing is so important, because Faker's gonna hit level 6 very soon. Yes, Xiaohu does have his cleanse, which can help him against the engage from Faker. Problem is, Slow will most likely follow from the Varus with his E, and then also Zac jumping in. And when you don't have a flash, you're just going to get slowed down right after the snare, and then you're still going to die. So now SKT can return gank mid. And it's so hard to ward against Zac once he gets a few levels in his slingshot, because suddenly you got to ward behind these different walls, further in towards the enemy jungle to actually see him sit around corners. Otherwise, he's still going to get you.
That's what Blank's going to be looking to do. Plants pushing forward, Bang and Wolf shoving in this wave over and over. They're still down 10 CS. But obviously, Uzi's going to extend that ever so slightly with this wave. Taking a quick look at MLXG, getting close to Ragnarok power. And he's going to potentially come up top. Duke, ultimate and flashes up. It's just a ward that's being put down.
Yeah, and that's a really dangerous gank, because you're 2 melees into a cannon that has double summoner spells, so they're going for it.
They are indeed. Keeper's Verdict goes down. Duke, Slicing Maelstrom comes up. MLXG, no ultimate, remember, so he just gets stunned up, and not done yet. Undertow picks up. Brolaf once more. Thundering Strike comes down. Duke is looking for more. Elastic Slingshot interrupted! Cannot chase further. Blank, no bounce available. Undertow goes out, and SKT, they walk away. That could be important if Lupa can find the W's. Hold that thought, guys. Uzi's in a little bit of trouble. Arcane shifts forward, gets the exhaust, but no follow-up damage just yet.
Yeah, that was a little bit trigger happy out of Wolf there. I don't think there was really a kill available. However, want to go back to the top. That was really patient out of Lupa.
Hold up. Mata's in trouble. Down to, I think, double-digit HP, 30. But he gets away with his life. Flash and exhaust used.
That's... Whoa.
Go ahead, Spawn. They're done playing now in the bottom lane. You may talk.
Are you sure? So, able to hold that W, not to chase, but because he knows that the potential counter game. What the?
Arcane Shift, Flash is still up for Uzi. He flashes the second.
Get me out of there.
Not done
What's
yet.
happening
Now
bottom
Uzi,
lane?
he's running low on mana, going toe-to-toe. Uzi's going to go down!
No!
Uzi's killed by Wolf!
In the end, we get a kill. They were fighting for such a long time.
Would you call that 1v1?
I mean, as a support, yes, you know, just to give him some praise there.
The power of Thunderlords. Blank is going to be able to steal a jungle camp and back away, and it's falling apart at the seams here. 2,000 gold before 10 minutes in favor of SKT.
And you really have to credit how they're playing this early game because they're playing it on the knife head, they're taking the risky trade, but because of the early kills, they are coming out ahead still.
Yes, and they're fighting with information because they knew MLXG had spent so much time top lane. They could keep trading bottom lane knowing no jungler would be there. Wolf could actually go aggressive and chase the kill as well. Hadn't Olaf been there, he would obviously have died for it as well and have still used his flash. But that top lane gank we tried to talk about before, MLXG did use Ghost. The reason they didn't just full commit, obviously not level 6. Never mind, bot lane trading again.
It is trading, but nobody gets rooted until Marta does. This should be a kill for Bang. So easily secured. The plant lands the last auto. Wolf is looking for more. MLXG gets caught up, throws down the Ragnarok, and Undertow slows down. Uzi gets good damage onto Blank. Blank still should have his Cell Division passive up. Fake is not done. Roaming in through the rest of the jungle. 5 kills to 0, 3,000 gold lead, and this might even be tower first blood.
And this is why SKT for so long has been the best team in the world, because when they have an advantage, they know exactly how to play around it and repetitively punish you for being greedy. They step up into a gank, they use their gap closers forward, and they smash them.
And that's the thing right here, SKT just mechanically outplaying RNG in the bottom lane, winning these trades. Yeah, you get a bit of damage on mid tower, and that's about it. Duke even got to save his flash top lane. RNG didn't want to all fully commit because they didn't even know where Zach was. He could have jumped out from a bush somewhere. Blank has been having a good game so far. Got that early kill and assist. Perfect stuff for him. And when you have so many winning lanes as a jungler, it's just great to play League of Legends because no matter where you go, you're going to find something you can kill.
Helps when RNG are presenting pretty big targets as well.
But you know that's what this team is going to do. They do not lose the game slowly. When they're behind, they look for kills to make up the goal. One of our biggest compliments last game was they're looking for structures to build that gold lead. This time around, you can see, back to old bad habits. They're just looking to fight over and over again, and they're getting punished.
It starts in the bottom lane, honestly. First MLXG near the bottom lane with Marta coming up, and clearly the call was, hey, we can fight this one. But that was completely wrong. They gave up early kills. Then bot lane died following that. Marta's gone down twice now. Cloud break for SKT.
Uncontested. Wolf is able to zone away. No flash, but he's got his full complement of spells available. Strangle Thorns as well. The early dragon here for SKT. 11 or so minutes for Cloud. And that's going to just allow them to move between these lanes, push this gigantic lead even further. And somehow RNG have to now play disciplined and controlled from behind.
We need to see out of them exactly what we saw out of SKT last game. The ability to...
A lot of damage onto Faker. Chaos Storm ticks away. Here comes MLXG. Doesn't throw down the Ragnarok though, and Blank, not enough damage to take him out. RNG not confident enough to go for the dive.
Yeah, bottom lane's missing. I mean, you can't really go for this just yet, but that is a good chunk. Gives them a little bit of time, and that's all they're buying for right now. Time to get to that late game scaling of the Ezreal, of the Poppy.
Wolf is looking for grasping roots, finds Xiaohu. Deadly Flourish Cleanse comes out, flash away from the first shot. Second catches Marta, so does the third. And the fourth goes wide. That may have got a kill, but sidestep from Marta.
Yeah, and it's important now to think back to last game. You know, how did SKT get to that late game state? Because Faker was sitting mid on Victor, wave playing for 10-15 minutes, and RNG just kept trying to kill him in mid lane and kill his tower. That tower, this mid tower you see right here just below Xiaohu, actually didn't die until RNG got Baron and Elder Drake. This game, SKT have, again, a winning top lane that can play aggressive. They even have some fights in the bottom lane, it seems like.
Teleport's coming in from Looper. Uzi's able to sidestep for now. Duke gets pinned against the wall. Uzi's not going to connect with that Mystic shot. Uzi's still running for life. Keeper's Verdict throws Duke up into the air. And here comes MLXG. A new challenger appears, and Duke is down.
Another really sloppy play out of Duke, to be honest. We're talking about how they're doing this with full information. They have full vision. This time he thinks Blank's going to be able to help him, but MLXG gets there in time. Loop is able to also use the teleport.
But this is only 2 members pushing this tower. Blank is here to try and defend. He is spotted on the ward. Problem is, it's kind of risky for him jumping in. He doesn't even know where the enemy dual lane is at this point. Now he sees Mata on a ward here near the jungle, and now he can jump in. So that's what you get to see here. We obviously have full information. Blank also knew now the wave was dying, so you can actually step in, and they can't really dive him without the minions.
But what it does is it just puts that little bit of a halt on the game. We're winning, we're snowballing. There's no need to give that gold back. They were quicker in the rotation. Bang should have been able to beat them top lane, and there was no need to pull the trigger on the play.
Definitely agree. SKT technically doesn't need more fights. They need to just push the 2 side lanes where they have the strong 2v2, the Jin and Zyra with kills on them, Ghostblade completed against the Tia Israel, and then the Cannon beating the Poppy. And then you, as we talked about in the last game, you push these 2 side lanes, you play around side lanes all the way to tier 2 towers, and then you can start roaming towards mid lane and try and threaten that Victor under his tower.
And if Kube taught us anything yesterday, it's that you don't want to accelerate the Poppy because she becomes obnoxious really early in the game to deal with. And all they've done is just giving this one pure tank, this one brick wall that's coming at your carries, more gold when it was in a punishing lane matchup.
Yeah, and that's something that Duke's going to need to rectify. He's still got a small advantage over Looper and should be able to bully him around. Looper's got a little bit of MR, a little bit of armor. And we've now got these Australia lanes as both duos up top.
Yeah, and I would like to see Blank on top side now. He needs to play around this super strong 2v2 lane where this tower as well is very, very low. If Blank is there and Faker can move from mid, plus you have a TP advantage, then you can play super, super aggressive on top side because you can always have 5 members showing up before the enemy team. And this will allow SKT to just get down this tower eventually, or even dive against RNG if Mata and Uzi are sitting alone trying to defend.
Luckily, Mata and Uzi have their flashes available. Look at the bottom lane. MLXG moving in to help out Looper, but Looper's taken so much damage. Ultimate is available for Duke, so if a fight breaks out, MLXG's looking to zone this one out. There we go. Chaos Storm is down. Duke is taking a lot of damage. Not going to get the reply. Looper with the passive survives. They trade a tower for a kill and a tower.
And one more time, this is RNG. They made mistakes in the early game, but they're trying to trade efficiently. This is a big play, however, from SKT, sieging up mid.
Xiaohu, I think, reads the situation, backed away very, very early.
And right here on your screen, we see why you need to push that side lane, because it forced Xiaohu and Victor to step into his own jungle instead of clearing a wave. And that just allowed SKT to have a full wave coming in, put up a few plants, and take the tower. It's all about threaten from the side with the flank. You don't have to go for it, but just threaten it and force the guy to step away.
And one more time, you know, Duke, he gets taken down, turret gets killed, but this time SKT hit back. It's a 2-for-1 trade. They're jockeying for position around the map, and they've left a trail of deep wards to be able to revisit this play time and time again if the RNG lineup overextends for farm.
Yeah, those wards now for SKT, though, they don't mean a whole... Actually, they will, because they're going to TP on it.
Instantly teleport. Mata's going to get jumped on here by Blank. Wolf and Duke coming up from the river. Uzi cancelled his recall. Flash is available. Let's see if he can get away. The answer does not seem to be so. Uzi goes first. Mata follows shortly.
And that is where everything falls apart for RNG. They ignored the deep vision. They just pushed out the lane, say, we don't care what's behind us. SKT found an opening that wasn't even supposed to be there. Normally, you would just forget about those wards, recall, put the new wards in the bottom lane, and take another dragon. But because RNG just pushed out, ignored the vision, they actually got jumped and died again.
And this is really key, because one more time, now if they can get the Rift Herald over onto Duke, someone that's being punished, gives him a little bit more one-on-one. Maybe he can actually stick with the Poppy. Doesn't look like they're giving it to him, however. That's interesting.
You're dead to us, Duke. You've died too many times. SKT is now playing 4v5.
But this is a play that, you know, you could see was telegraphed from SKT. They controlled the top side of the map so beautifully for so long. And then they weren't hesitant when they pulled the trigger. They knew that they had the information one more time.
As soon as they saw RNG just completely ignore those wards, something we don't see back in the LCK ever, they're like, okay, let's pick up some more free kills.
Got themselves 2, got themselves a Rift Herald. Looper's got a couple of minutes to play with a teleport advantage. But SKT have so much information to work with and such a gigantic lead.
Their namesake is so funny, however, because 2 Cloud Drakes spawn for SKT. I mean, they play the early game just as punishing.
Gonna get a third one. Actually, no, that is the second one. I thought they just took it.
Yeah, so this is so, like, for a tiny thing, it is incredibly punishing because they don't have the same danger when they're around Baron. It's still quick, but it's not double Mountain Drake quick. And they don't have the scaling advantage of having that Infernal on their side versus what is still a potent late game comp.
But they can move very fast.
They can. Are you over on the Cloud Drake hype train now?
We are in North America after all.
It has also been buffed since
It has actually
a
been
lot of
buffed.
the negative opinions, I should say.
The point about Cloud Drake is just like, yes, it does help you, like rotate very, very quick between lanes and so on. But when it comes to finishing big objectives or big team fights, it doesn't really help you. Slightly before with the positioning, but people want Mountain and Infernal because Mountain gets you, an easier Baron, and Infernal often gets you easier team fights later on.
Good damage there from Faker on that piercing arrow. That's going to push Shahu away, even if it's just temporarily. Lupa's got TP available, but not the greatest vision to work with in behind the SKT backline. And SKT decide not to pressure that inner mid turret. We're approaching 20 minutes in the game, and Rift Herald was secured. It was the 8th Rift Herald of Worlds, actually. Faker, despite having no support, is not a threat. RNG decide not to go forward.
And this is actually really smart from RNG because they got bottom lane pushing, they push out top lane. It means the longer you stay mid, the more farm you lose and the more you get punished. So SKT, they don't overextend for it, they just back away. But one more time, SKT in the driving seat right now. They're 5,000 gold, nearly 6,000 gold in the lead. But it's what they do at this stage of the game, how they control vision around Baron, how they start sieging up these next 2 turrets, because it's going to be hard.
It will, but if you're SKT, it's kind of a luxury problem for you. Like, oh, damn, we're so far ahead, we can't just, take a Baron because it hasn't even spawned yet.
Yeah.
So it's okay for them right now to be like, all right, let's slow down for 5 minutes, just keep farming 3 lanes. And the most important thing to do now with this advantage is to take away jungle camps. It might look like a small difference at first, but when you keep doing it over and over, steal away every camp, the enemy team just falls further and further behind until you're strong enough to take Baron.
Okay, gentlemen, I need to now get you to take note of what SKT do in the middle game with the same sort of lead that RNG had from game 1. Now, RNG floundered it because not only did they not make the best moves, SKT defended well. So that's what I want to compare, how these 2 teams play, because they're in opposite positions.
The only mistake I saw from SKT in this game was Duke. Going bot lane, trying to get the kill, dying, and then after, when they wanted to make a play on top side for the tier 1 top tower, he stayed under his tower and got dove again and died. Outside of that, SKT has actually played this super, super well and much cleaner than RNG. SKT showed why you play side lanes, and now they find Looper.
Looper's trying to get away. Stranglethorns has been used. Curtain Call comes down as well. Faker's still got the Chain of Corruption. Is going to lock down Looper. A lot of damage. Everybody's getting involved. Looper surviving for a very long time. Long enough for the rest of RNG to make it up. Looper survives. Blank says, let's bounce. And Shahu's putting some damage down. MLXG comes in, gets 2 undertows. Can't pick up the axe. And SKT are sent running. Duke still doesn't teleport in. They save Looper's life.
It was just off cooldown, so wasn't able to make it there in time. Now it's about to come up.
There's a ward behind RNG, good TP2, but the rest of SKT are too low. So many ultis used to try and kill Looper. But again, that fish in the barrel just refuses to sit still, dodges around.
And this time they don't have the deep vision, so when Looper turns around for the play, they have to respect it a little bit more than they did last time, and they maybe taper the damage just a little bit, which means the turnaround play is available.
How scary is that when 4 members of SKT are hammering away on Looper and he still survives that long?
Honestly, Looper was too tanky, and they missed almost all the abilities, which is the second part of that, but SKT just thought they could get an easy pick. They didn't. That's why RNG bounced back, and actually really well played by Looper, staying alive, getting that top tower as a reward. So RNG gets a bit of gold, but now the play is always around next Dragon and Baron, because Baron is alive. You have Zac who can tank it. Once he picks up an armor item, barely gonna take damage on it, and then you can keep baiting it and just have so much CC. Like, how are you gonna walk into the river against Kennen ulti, Zyra ulti, Varus ulti?
Yeah, and it's always fun when the CC isn't on the jungler, so the jungle can stay and actually continue to leash, continue to proc off and be the last one in, because all of a sudden you've got Duke that can go in, you've got the ulti that's going to come out of Faker. As this team is running headfirst into you, as you know that RNG is going to at some point during this game.
As they do many games.
Yeah, it's coming. It even came last game.
It did indeed. But this time around, RNG have to still fight back. 6,000 gold. MLXG sidesteps at least one. Ragnarok comes up, takes a lot of damage. Blank will get rooted and pulled backwards by the gravity field. But just trading abilities back and forth. MLXG, no ultimate. As SKT continue to fight around. Duke took a lot of damage there.
This is a scary lane now, because Looper somehow has once again got back within touching distance and has a Sheen so he can legitimately threaten Duke's positioning on the map.
And also, RNG actually with some pretty good defense around here. MLXG just get caught, no ulti.
All right, curtain call, chain of corruption as well. Gravity field will buy some time. Not enough. MLXG is down. Faker's on a killing spree. The fourth shot of curtain call goes wide, and there was a ward behind the Baron pit. It's timed out, so Looper can't even get in that way.
And that's where you just see again the patience, the discipline from SKT. They set up pink wards. They know they can just bait around Baron, and RNG will have to walk in at some point. Once the blue trinket's on cooldown, someone is going to face check, and you just collapse on that guy and you kill him instantly. Everyone from RNG is recalling right now, and SKT, they're starting Baron.
They're going to potentially get this one. Looper making his way in. SKT is going to go fairly slow. It's very early in the game, 24 minutes. Looper's made up. He's
Watch
going to
for
get
the
some vision.
Keeper's Verdict here.
All right, Keeper's Verdict is winding up, catches Blank. That's a problem. Blank had no flash available. Firing down. Uzi's down. Wolf takes him out. Xiao, who's not running for his life, in a little bit of trouble. Blue Sentinel even pulled in by SKT. Right, Baron is stopped. It cost Uzi's life, but I think that might be worth it.
And RNG actually got the TP out of Duker. There it is again, the Duke of TPs, man. That's second time we do it now. Duke is TP. He just forgot an R, it's not his fault. Move on, someone else
So
go.
no teleport for Duke means small windows for Looper.
Yeah, makes it a bit harder for SKT to set up the same bait.
Certainly does. And when you have a look at this, I think that SKT's discipline is so key in this matchup, because RNG just keeps coming at them. And SKT has just been able to weather that storm and be very comfortable with it. But the third dragon...
Yeah, they're mad now. What is this? Ocean Drake at 25 minutes?
Well, Regen's going to help them out ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly.
Ever so,
They're the poke
so
comp.
slightly.
I mean, if anything, RNG wants the Ocean Drake. They're the hard engage comp.
They are indeed. But they can't engage yet. I want to contrast, SKT, they built up a good lead. They played well around Baron. But because it was so early, they didn't have a mountain, they didn't have damage to kill Baron quick enough. And I think that's what allowed RNG buy some more time and get back in here.
And a good ulti from Looper as well, getting Blank out of the Baron pit, so even finishing the Baron was not an option. Then we saw the Duke TP get cancelled. And that now means SKT kind of needs to slow down. For a few minutes, they need that TP back from the cannon so they can keep playing bottom side and not just have Looper pushing up bot lane over and over. And it just buys a bit of time for RNG. Buys more time for Looper to get more items. He need the Iceborne, and then he can actually really just sit on top of this cannon and be super annoying.
That's the second time we've seen Looper actually pushing Duke away from the lane. Duke, second item, Void Staff, got that Wrist Guard and Fiendish Codex for now, but no big items after that. Looking down the list, everybody hitting that 2, almost 3 item spikes as we get closer and closer to 30 minutes. And this is good if you want RNG to win, because they're getting their Ezreal powered up, they're getting their Victor powered up, and I think very importantly, Looper is just getting to be one beefy frontline Poppy.
And they're about to have all of their control items. I mean, Rylez has been picked up, Iceborne Gauntlet for the Ezreal, and now you're going to see it most likely come out for Looper as well, unless something really crazy happens. I think that this just allows them to slow down the pace of the game, catch that big breath, because you could see they were getting carried away, but it's 7,000 gold. And SKT, for the next 20 minutes, is still going to be the team playing with all of the priority in this game.
Now we do have to look at something like Varus in late game fights. His damage, once you go full late game and he has to try and kill some of these big tanks like Poppy, is not the greatest. He's not like the big auto-attacking threat in a team fight. He's great poke, obviously, against squishies, all stages of the game. But it can be really hard for Faker late game to actually take down a big front line. Olaf, Poppy, Karma Shields coming in. Minimal, obviously, as a support late game. But it all matters. And that's where SKT, while they still have a good composition and fine scaling, will actually be in a situation where they can lose team fights.
True shot barrage used to scout out. Luckily for SKT, they've got the team fight wombo combo of cannon. And we've seen cannons this tournament do, as the Oceanic crew would say, disgusting things.
Certainly have. However, we've also seen Poppies swing team fights in times where they shouldn't be able to. That ultimate is so polarizing. It can either like absolutely destroy a team, or it can deliver tanks onto your back line and weird things that we've seen in the past.
With the way Lupa's been playing, it's most likely going to destroy SKT, honestly, if he nails a good one. If we look at the two top laners, Lupa has been winning 2 games in a row now and just been outperforming Duke in every way possible, honestly. And that is great for RNG. It's been fantastic for them to have that strong lane. Jin is moving down. Lupa realizes there's a ward, and he does run away. So now we saw SKT not do anything for a few minutes because they had to wait for that TP. And they can start setting up Baron again. They need to sell some of these Dorn's items, though, and get more pink wards.
See how quickly they decide to do that. Next dragon will be Ocean. Baron remains a focus. And RNG, they've contested Vision a little bit after that failed fight earlier in the game. RNG actually pushed a lot of the SKT Vision away. Even had Scuttle Crab controls. A little bit of a fight over the Crab right now. Gonna get smited too early, secured by SKT. And that one swims away.
And you have a look at the key items that have just been picked up. Double Last Whispers now have been brought in because they realize that Lupa is a legitimate threat. They're going to have to deal with this front line. They're able to pick that up. Void Staff had been picked up for a very long time. So SKT still have the tools to be able to fight, and they're one more time looking for it.
Ghostblade thrown down by Faker. In the background, there is a potential TP ward. Pink in the jungle. SKT, they're grouped up. Duke continues to meet Lupa. He's making his way down to that bottom lane. Top laners gonna go battle toe-to-toe. Xiaohu caught out by the curtain call. 2 shots. Chain of Corruption flashed away from Mata. Body blocks the 4th, but SKT get the tower.
A really good move from SKT, and a big thing here to highlight is the fact that Lupa had no place to really TP. He tried to leave the bottom lane, but Duke just followed him. And there was no wards behind SKT at all he could choose to TP to, so that means RNG could only 4v5 basically, and they had to just give up the tower.
And it's about getting access to that mid lane whilst being safe from the flanks. And you can see that they were pushed a long way around.
MLXG, for what feels like the 15th time this game, is gonna face check. Uzi now making his way forward. Baron under some siege. Piercing arrow. Let loose, but Faker doesn't find a target.
And now SKT can do this, Baron, a lot safer than before. They have some armor on Blank, they have more DPS on their carries. Both top laners still with teleport, but again, Lupa has no good location. There's minions on top side, and that's about it for him.
Chain of Corruption's not available for Faker. The rest of SKT, they peel off Baron. Lupa had left the bottom lane, but I think he was standing on top of a ward. That's why Duke went to challenge him.
And now there's a second game of cat and mouse, because who is more valuable in the team fight? Lupa, who's going to dive the backline, or this Poppy that should be able to blow up all the squishy members on RNG?
Now I'm going to answer the question with player name, not champion name. Lupa, because he seems to have Duke's number. Second game in a row that he's outclassing his opponents.
But you have to remember, if Blank stays on the Baron, then they don't really have that good of a counter initiation without the cannon available. So you can see that they're hesitant to 100% commit to the objective if either of these top laners can really make it to that fight.
And what happens right now is one of the problems in this meta. It is so hard for teams to kind of push through the mid game and get that Baron and then use it to close the game, because again, whenever you see 2 or 3 wards getting cleared by RNG, SKT has to go back and get new wards. Then they need to get new pink wards, place them one more time. And it's this constant struggle, because one sweeping lens can like clear almost the entire river. So once you leave the Baron for just a few seconds, a few wards will die, you go back to base, you come back out, game is super slowed down, and you're kind of looking for picks. Looking for picks when the enemy is trying to clear your wards. Then you hard engage with Zac, you hard engage with Varus. But SKT have not done that. They've started the Baron twice now, gotten low at the Baron, and then disengaged. When RNG is looking to clear these wards, engage on them, like you did on the Olaf, and then do it a second time without starting the Baron. Kill the blue wards, watch RNG walk up to this river again, and then hard engage a second time. Look for picks over Baron, because it's so hard for you to finish that Baron at the moment.
However, RNG has flirted with danger. They've made them commit to the objective before they've been willing to face check, and have been able to, I guess, ride that dangerous balance between giving up an objective for free and face checking to the death and ultimately costing you the game. And another Ocean Drake.
Another Ocean Drake. So double Cloud, double Ocean. Uzi tried to snipe the red buff. It was smited by Blank. 12 minutes ago, I said, let's compare mid-games. SKT made it very, very, very clear. They're trying to play the Baron game, but it has not actually netted them an advantage. They've got a little bit of control in RNG. Yes, they're still down a gigantic amount of gold, but obviously, as we always say and love to say, the later this game goes, the less relevant that becomes.
Of course, and same thing for some of these Ocean Drakes SKT have been getting. That's one thing we just have to highlight. Like, everything went in favor of RNG last game. Won the early game into Mountain, Infernal, Mountain, which they then used to rush a Baron later on. SKT doesn't have the same situation here. They don't have the same damage against some of these big objectives. And again, that's why starting the Baron is the risk instead of just looking for the fight around the Baron pit. It's only 2 blue trinkets. Once they're used, enemy team has to walk in and face check.
So what does RNG have to do? Looper is obviously going to be one of the keys to this, because we know how SKT want to advance their lead to win. How does Royal never give up bounce back?
They're just looking for mid lane control, wave clear, and being able to force them off the Baron time and time again. Because if they get Victor and Ezreal to late game, they're going to be confident.
Chain of Corruption's been used. MLXG's rolling around at the Ragnarok. Mata takes a lot of damage, but is able to flash away. Follow-up flash by Blank. He's bouncing up in 3 RNG members' faces. MLXG did not use Ghost, and teleports from Looper and Duke still available.
And here we did see SKT instantly looking for the fight. Started Baron to bait RNG in. Instant disengage to look for that fight. But the problem for SKT is this bot lane is getting out of hand. Looper is going to get that tower down. All RNG is looking for right now is that one big team fight. They're still around this Baron pit. It's only Mata who's not here. And there's actually a ward now in this red buff area and the river for Looper to TP on.
There's a lot of ultimates not available on the side of SKT. Baron's down to roughly half hit points, down to 3,000. Teleports coming in for Looper. Duke is joining as well. The Baron will get secured by SKT, but Duke will lose his life for it. Gets nothing down. And this will at least slow down what SKT can do with that buff.
And this game is on a knife's edge right now. SKT finally commit, but Duke a little bit too deep with that teleport, gets blown up. So there is a window now where they can push out the side lanes and make this Baron less effective. SKT really need to be able to pull the trigger when he's back available.
And just when we praised RNG for defending well, SKT started the Baron for the 4th time, and this time RNG didn't actually walk in to try and check what was happening. Mata was obviously running from base, so maybe they didn't feel too confident walking into the Baron area, but that finally allowed SKT to take it down. It was close. RNG just spotted them when it was too late. And finally SKT gets the objective. Elder Drake is going to be next if we want to look at big options. Another one is actually start sieging. With your Varus, with your Jhin, you have 2 outer turrets in bot and top lane to go for.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I mean, right now, you try and get the Baron buff into a couple of lanes, shove them off, go back to Elder Dragon, and with 4 Drakes, that burn damage is going to be so brutal, both out of the Jhin as well as the Varus. I mean, you have to start talking about Keystone Masteries at this stage.
Ooh. Ah, bangers. Ghost bladed up. Doesn't find the root, though. I mean, that would have taken a couple of reloads on Bang's side to get the kill.
Yeah, it certainly would have. So, you know, Death by a Touch, when you get into this late game, when you're able to pick up that Elder Drake, that's going to start really hurting the members of RNG. However, you've just seen what happens when Bang shoots Looper. Pretty much nothing at this stage of the game as well. And you don't want to have to put any bullets into that Poppy.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that Faker would have a vastly different amount of damage either with those piercing arrows. That front line for Looper, Randian's Omen, Thornmail, Frozen Fist. So much armor to work with.
They're pinging out the fact that Zac is top right now.
What sort of engage can RNG pull off? No teleport available. Wave clear from Faker, actually used inside the jungle rather to kill those Krogs.
Yeah, very interesting play from Blank here. What he did top was he set up a slow push. He pushed it out. He knew now it's going to actually start pushing slowly for SKT towards that top lane tier 2 tower. So SKT is relying on killing his bot lane tower here and then rotate top with the big wave. Or have RNG send a member to defend top lane because no one has teleport on RNG right now. And that would then allow SKT to get a bot lane tower near the base instead. They got the first one for free. Next one requires a member from RNG to show top lane with this big wave. Look at your minimap, guys. It's building up bigger and bigger. That's why Blank was up there. And it basically means SKT can either stay bot and look for tower, or they can go towards that Elder Drake once it spawns.
And all the while, as Poppy is the one responding to these pushes, Uzi and Xiaohu are just being rained upon by skill shot after skill shot, and that hurts them.
That does indeed. Second shot connects, third does as well. Duke is getting a couple of autos onto that inhibitor turret. Mid lane and top lane pushing towards. Lupa's come in from behind, eats a lot of plant damage. Very good Stranglethorn, slows down the RNG engage. Lupa will go down. That's what Duke was looking for. Slicing Maelstrom gets a kill. Blank's looking to bounce up in Uzi's face. Uzi flashes to safety, and this will open the base. Inhibitor turret down. Inhibitor follows very quickly after, and SK Telecom have opened up game 2 in the series.
And just great positioning and play from Wolf here. He was standing so far up in the lane that he could see the Poppy coming and then snare the Poppy instantly, stopping the flank from happening. SKT gets exactly what they want. Never mind these big waves now, because they already got what they needed in the bottom lane.
Yeah, they break open the base, and now they have even better access towards the Baron as it respawns. Someone's going to have to respond to the super creep, and with 20 seconds left, I don't even know whether they can defend the Elder Dragon. So this game, you know, they were defending well, RNG, but SKT, the later it got, the more confident they became in their movements.
And that is why you can slow down the mid game if you have an advantage, because it only takes one mistake from the enemy team, and you get that big objective, you get that inhib turret you need, and then you open up the game again, and you can start playing more fast-paced. Look for bigger things, and look for a big team fight as well.
SK Telecom secure this Elder Dragon uncontested. RNG nowhere to be found, and that's a 40-minute Elder. Going to amplify the power of Cloud and of Ocean. These guys are going to go fast, and they're going to be full health wherever they're going when they arrive.
And more importantly, when the skill shots hit, there is going to be so much true damage burn coming out of this Elder Drake that even Lupa, who died pretty quickly in this fight actually, is going to have to take.
So look at Wolf here staying so far up in the lane because he knows Lupa can flank from that side. That's the only way Lupa can flank in this fight, and that's why Wolf is up there. Instant snares him, slows him down, and that stops that potential flank because Blank had to walk from mid lane to join. So that's really smart positioning from a support, and it stops any sort of engage.
Yeah, Blank keeps committing to the fight. Lupa's in a bit of trouble.
He is indeed, takes a lot of damage, flashes away, that's instantly down, uses the Merc Wolves to dash away, gets rooted up by the Flourish, but still has 600 hit points to burn through. Summoner Spell and Ultimate blown 1.5 minutes before Baron. That could be impactful. Well, that's impactful. SKT knock over another turret. Remember, they've got that Elder Dragon buff. Still ticking away, burning down RNG in team fights. Even without Baron, SKT continue to siege. Teleport is up for Lupa. Not the greatest wards behind SKT. In fact, he's just going to go face to face, make his way through the base.
SKT just trying to get more damage on his turret here. They just need a few seconds to actually hit it. And it does, but you gotta respect the potential engage as well. Only way back in this game for RNG is one big team fight, and they want that proper flank, but they're not getting it.
No, they're not. Faker's taking a lot of damage from the inhibitor turrets. MLXG running a mile a minute with Ghost and Ragnarok, but Royal never give up, cannot stand to defend their inhibitor. And SK Telecom, a 16,000 gold lead. Super minions in 2 lanes. They back out of RNG's base.
And they just look so controlled and clinical as they are doing it. RNG does not want anything to do with the Elder Dragon up lineup, so they just give it up. But SKT, they look aggressive. Can we find the kill? No, let's just take the objective and get out.
Exactly. Like, yeah, they miss an ulti from Faker. Blank jumps in, but they're not trying to hit anyone. They just want to zone them off. If you see a Zac charging up with Elder Drake, you're backing away from that tower, and then tower goes down in just a few seconds. So just very smart play from SKT. Baron is alive in a few seconds. Gonna be the next big one, and might be the last chance for RNG.
And they're gonna have to fight at 5 items to 6 because everyone is maxed out on the side of the SK Telecom lineup. And RNG, unfortunately, is only sitting on 5 major items, but they're gonna have to go eventually.
And this is actually here where you can make a case for not even going Baron at all, just of the potential risk. But SKT can just wait for RNG to show in base, and then jump them.
Now, gonna look for Xiaohu. Xiaohu actually gets knocked away by less bounce. Blank is gonna jump onto MLXG. Blank's looking for more. Xiaohu is down.
So annoying.
Soloed with the range. No even assist damage from the rest of SK Telecom. Unstable matter that GA plus the Zac passive. Blank has 3 lives to play with.
And that just might be it, because right now, Xiaohu's on a 50-second death timer, and SKT are going to break the last remaining turret.
Yeah, they really are. Blank is going to charge up that elastic shin slingshot. The threat alone is enough to force RNG away. Lupa comes in from behind. Last-ditch effort. 5 versus 4. Bang is running for his life. Doesn't get pinned against the wall. The rest of RNG are running. Flashes defensively. MLXG on the front line. Uzi's got no summoners, no ultimate. He's got no top laner. Lupa's down. MLXG follows quickly after. Super minions are now hammering away on the Nexus turrets. Uzi and Mata doing what they can. They've got the GA from Blank. Blank throws up the SKT logo. SK Telecom bounce back to even the series at 1-1.
And SKT had a goal lead since minute 3 in this game, where MLXG and Mata ended up dying so early when they walked into that trade. Talking about supports though, I am looking at Wolf in this game. Like, what a monster performance. They were down in CS early in the bottom lane, then he has some great trades, picks up kills as well. Great play in team fights. Zyra has really shown to be such an impactful pick. Both supports showing it, and Wolf had a monster performance.
And you have to just contrast the control that SKT showed in this game. RNG, they go back to even. They have to sneak a Baron. SKT get the lead in this game, and they just keep him at arm's length the whole time, play very, very confidently and composed, and close this one out the way a world-class team does.
Now, I'm not going to excuse any of the early game mistakes from RNG, but there was also a measure of control in terms of the Baron bait, where it took, what, 13, 14, 15 minutes before they made a mistake. I thought it wouldn't have taken that long. I would have expected a more eager, a more aggressive RNG, but they let Lupa do his work in the top lane and try to play, defensively.
And the smart thing here was that whenever SKT started Baron, that's when RNG moved in, because then SKT is taking damage from it. They play a poke comp who's literally opening himself up to flanks because you're standing in that Baron pit. So SKT had to just back away every time, and that's why, as we talked about, maybe SKT set up the pinks, deny the vision, look for one engage, look for a second and a third instead of starting Baron.
I feel bad again because we do have to head to the analyst desk. Next time I'll get you to
never get
in.
to talk.
For now, let's see what the analyst desk has to say about how SKT even the series.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. A very different story here in Game 2 of the series. SKT striking back, evening it up 1-1. Crepo, jump right in.
Yeah, I just want to say I know what it feels like to be Spawn right there, so I sympathize with him. The official never lets me talk.
Don't worry, I will let you talk on this desk. And the first thing I want you to talk about is the draft phase here for RNG, opting into the same exact competition at SKT played in Game 1, barring the Olaf for Lee Sin here, and then SKT on the flip side, playing something entirely different.
Yeah, I mean, team compositions that run Karma, Ezreal, Poppy, Victor are 0-2 so far in the quarterfinals in this series. But really, I think a lot of this was decided in the early game, and then SKT was able to close it out. The fact that it took 43 minutes does kind of speak to the fact that RNG did have some tools to keep the game going, but so much of it was just off of that 3-minute fight.
And it was, again, bringing it right back to the comps that SKT were playing in week 2. These poke comps, they didn't have Jace this time, but it was all about setup. And even though they had a true tank, they had a Zac. Zac's much more effective, actually out of range, looking to jump in and engage, rather than standing in front of, say, the poke champions like the Jhin, for example. So it was still very much the same flavor of the comp that they played so dominantly and so uniquely well in week 2.
And honestly, if you look at Duke, this game, that is the one saving grace maybe for RNG. If you look at the scope of the series, he had a mediocre Game 2. He had a really bad Game 1. He had the only person that had deaths on SKT this game. So maybe that's an area that RNG can hit next few games. Yes, they lost early on by having that real large deficit that kind of made the game over. But just stabbing away at a potential weakness could win you games in the long run.
Well, and exactly. And I think if you talk about, RNG's saving grace, especially, what kept them in this game for so long was that side lane pressure created by a Poppy that had a sheen. But I do want to talk about that bit of misplay that you mentioned, that deficit that was created for RNG.
It almost,
level 3 craziness here.
Yeah, it almost looked like if you go into the river play, like you suddenly see level 2 Olaf, and you're like, wait, hang on. That's
How
like
did that get here?
It's in a sitcom. It's like frame pauses, record scratches, like, hey, it's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up here. And that's exactly what we were wondering.
As an Olaf, level 2 against a Zac who's done 3 camps. And you start thinking, how could an Olaf be level 2 in the river against a Zac? Oh, he only has 2 camps down. Maybe he skipped Wolves and just decided to rush Scuttle Crab. No, that's not actually what happened.
What else could have happened?
Maybe Faker would be able to steal a Wraith. Is another thing you think.
Oh, he's playing Varus. That's a pretty good idea.
That didn't happen either. And I wish we had the replay of this because there was a small wolf that Olaf didn't clear at level 2, chased him all the way into lane. One hit, didn't get it.
10 health
he kills that wolf, he's level 3. That entire exchange goes differently.
I mean, that was definitely the analyst desk peanut guy. We're like, wait, Olaf's the fastest clear. He started blue. That's definitely the fastest route you can take. How could he possibly be level 2 to a level 3 Zach? And watching it back, we had the benefit of doing that ourselves. It was comical.
Yeah, and that's the 2 kills for SKT. And we had already talked about after game 1, SKT's ability to play from behind. Now you grant them 2 essentially free kills before 3 minutes, and we just witnessed what SKT can do from ahead.
Yeah, it was a little comical, but it was also tragic because I think it starved us of what could have been a good game.
Great game.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of that is known to RNG right now, like whether or not in the back room MLXG is saying, guys, I really messed that up. I really think we should just try and restart that one. Or if he's just like, no, we made some bad rotations in that river there, and don't look at me, guys. Because I think the composition can work. You saw they had pick potential in the later fights. It's hard to push into a victor, but we've now seen 2 lopsided games with very similar compositions from the losing sides.
Yeah, especially if you play into poke. If you give poke a lead early, man, their gameplay is so easy. Just whack away at you. You get down. Eventually, they take objective control. Poke from even is bouncing on a knife's edge. It's also, if you look at the C9 game, it only takes 1 teleport plank to ruin the game. Poke from behind is impossible to play because you don't put them low enough. They're just going to walk in and kill you over time. So that's exactly why RNG shouldn't feel too bad. SKT can be happy. They played it right. They saw level 2 Olaf in River. They decided to kill him. Malta came up and gave another free kill. And that was the game.
Yep. And while with this lead, SKT never looked uneasy, right? In fact, they looked very methodical, back into their traditional form. We did still see them take some time to close this game out, maybe in part due to the Drake RNG and not getting those Infernals or the Earth Dragons. But at the same time, I feel like that does bode well for RNG, that they too have found some ways to stall out a game and make sure they can still contest those global objectives.
I really liked the blue side Jace ban. To me, that was the big thing, is because the only pressure laner left is Kennen. And actually, in the last 2 years, Duke has never played Kennen. It's first recorded game on Kennen since perhaps 2014, 2013, maybe first in his career, and it didn't look like his Jace. He didn't have the same sort of trademark ability to push up. Poppy obviously got the items, started to pressure as that lane naturally goes, but it wasn't a plug-and-play replacement for the Jace that looked so good for SKT in week 2.
And I think it's scary when you're looking at a player like Faker pulling Varus out here. Of course, we did see him play it once in the group stages, but overall has not played that champion very much in his career, and yet putting up performances like that, top damage on the team. And, that, again, when I'm looking at champions, it seems like Duke might be the only person you can attack. Other than that, that Zyra Jhin lane did look pretty gross.
Yeah, I think the Zyra Jhin lane looks gross. As far as attacking someone in Champ Select, I still think there's value in attacking the jungle pool. We've seen a poorly Sin game from Bengi, and a Zac game where, yes, he did solo kill the Victor at 50 minutes, but aside from that, he wasn't landing very many of his jumps. So I think if you're RNG, you continue to throw multiple jungle bans into these games, especially when they go back to the red side. They won their game on the red side. I'd expect Elise Olaf as their bans.
Yeah, so we'll probably find out on the other side of the break whether or not they're swapping sides. But now I do, with this game in mind and maybe some of the addendums we've made in terms of that wonky early game situation, want to ask you guys, what is your confidence level that this series does go to 5 games? How confident are you that RNG can hit that reset button, as you mentioned, Jad? Are they in that back room saying, look, we got to throw this game out of our minds because certain things didn't fall in our favor, and we can rebound?
Yeah, that's RNG though, right? We say MLXG, he's going to clear that whole camp before, but he makes similar decisions in the past of 2-camp gank. If it doesn't work, we lose the game. This wasn't a choice, it was just a flat-out mistake, but I actually don't trust RNG's ability to win another game against SKT, especially that SKT now has momentum and theoretically wouldn't be affected by any nerves. I still actually think it's SKT 3-1.
I mean, RNG play on the razor's edge, right? When they look good, they look so good. Then you have games like this. And this was, again, a very small mistake that obviously was massive given how the game played out. I don't know if I have confidence in them picking up another win, but how much do you really learn from a game where such a small mistake snowballed so massively? All you learn is that if you give SKT an inch, they take that mile.
They still gave away quite some pick and ban information here, just drafting champions that SKT played. In general, this wasn't a strange composition from RNG, but the more info you give to SKT, historically, a lot of their series at international tournaments, Game 1, close. Game 2, a little less close. Game 3, it's over. And similarly right now, Game 1 went to RNG. This one was granted due to the mistake, a lot less close, but I think that pattern will continue, and that's why I think SKT will take it 3-1.
I was about to say, it's beginning to feel like the classic SKT best of 5 ramp up here, but stay tuned because Game 3 is coming your way right after this.